Hello everyone, and welcome to another Saturday channeling. I was about to say Saturday Live. So used to doing things on Saturdays. But as most of you have probably noticed, I have taken a little bit of a break. As most of you also probably noticed, I'm juggling a lot of different projects, particularly of the creative bend. So I was encouraged to just step back. Spirit was like, okay, you need to stop juggling too many things and just chill for a little bit. And so that's a little bit of what I've been doing, as well as just focusing on one thing. However, this all is about to shift back to normal, so potentially by next week I'll be back to my usual Saturday lives, but I am taking things just day by day at the moment. For example, 2 days ago, I had not connected with Hades ever, and was not expecting to be connecting with him either. I have felt his energy and had him in my space before, because I've channeled Persephone quite a lot, and often when she comes in, Hades will come in with her and just be there in the background as a support, really. So this was new and exciting when it was Hades himself who came in. No Persephone around at all. And he came in because he has a very specific message related to what's going on just generally in the world in this moment right now, and what he wants all of us to be not only thinking about and processing, but doing. So he very much has some action steps that he's wanting us to take, and he also told me he wanted to address some of the misperceptions that we may hold about him, because one of the biggest things about right now that many of you have probably already felt or thought about or heard yourselves is we're going through a huge shift, and that's why there's this sense of, oh my gosh, absolute chaos going on right now, because it's shifting things, and people are reacting to that shift in the energy that is anchoring the light so strongly it's almost more than some people can handle. And part of that is switching the perceptions that we individually and we as a collective unconsciousness have held for a time, that have been not only changed and skewed from what they originally were when they originally were created, but also just changed and skewed because of the lower vibrational times of the past and what was needed for those times of the past that are now not needed. So this is where I get up on my little bit of a soapbox and talk about the purpose of myths and legends and folklore, which I know I've probably talked about in one or multiple videos before, because it is something that's very near and dear to me personally. And Hades is here with me, and he's like, and that's why I picked you. So, myths, legends, and folklore were originally created, they were originally told as teaching tools. They were originally told and originally created to teach people about how the world works, how the universe works, how space works, how different societies work, how to act in those different societies, what morals are in different societies. So essentially, myths, legends, and folklore were the original versions of those schools that we send our kids off to nowadays. And as such, myths, legends, and folklore are not meant to be taken literally. And unfortunately, that's the way a lot of things are taken nowadays, is people read a story, people consume some sort of piece of media, and they take it literally. And that's not what stories are for, especially not myths, legends, and folklore. They draw upon archetypes. They draw upon deep-seated symbols that are part of our collective unconsciousness in order to convey timeless understandings and messages about who we are underneath this whole 3D reality. So my point with this is that don't take myths, legends, and folklore literally. Take them as a symbol. Take them as basically you needing to go in and read between the lines and find out what's the message between this literal chase happening in this forest with, say, Artemis having Actaeon get chased and hunted by the very animals that he was hunting after he spider bathing naked in a pond. Or, more specifically, the Hades myths. He's very often, especially nowadays, seen as evil or bad. Look at the Disney's version of Hercules, for example. He's the villain in that. And he's not. At all. He is the one who simply looks after a particular area of our collective unconsciousness, who supports us in there we go, just asking him to give me a word, who supports us in exploring our shadow and moving through different stages, transforming through different stages. So he's very much all about imparting wisdom to us on how to transform. And that's at the heart of the well-known myth about Hades and Persephone. Well, it's one of them. I'll talk about the other one just as an aside. So, for those of you who are maybe not totally familiar about the Hades and Persephone myth, it is, to quickly summarize it, because you can absolutely go and look it up in more detail, about Hades coming across the beautiful young woman Persephone up on the earthly plane one day, and he's like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. And he'd gotten struck by one of Cupid's arrows because he'd annoyed Aphrodite, and Aphrodite often has Cupid going and striking people who she's annoyed with his love arrows, and then basically causing a million shenanigans because of that. And so Hades has been struck by Cupid's love arrow, and he's gone up to the earthly plane, and the first woman he sees is Persephone, and he totally falls for her, and she's amazing, and he takes her back to his underworld kingdom. And when he does that, Persephone's mother, Demeter, who's the goddess of seasons, of motherhood, of childbearing, of agriculture, falls into a deep depression and also a bit of fury, and basically decides, I'm not going to do my job anymore of allowing things to grow and flourish. So the entire earthly plane falls into a permanent winter. Meanwhile, down in the underworld, Persephone learns that she should not eat or drink anything, otherwise she's going to be permanently trapped down in the underworld, because she's freaking out down there, and she gets told this by some helpful side characters. But she realizes that a little bit too late, because she ate 3 pomegranate seeds, and then learns after the fact, oh, no, you shouldn't eat or drink anything, otherwise you're gonna get stuck down there. Thankfully though, she only had 3 pomegranate seeds, so that allows her to then negotiate, along with Demeter and Hades, really negotiating, that she's only going to spend part of the year down in the underworld with Hades as his queen, and then the rest of the year she gets to spend it up on the earthly plane with her mother Demeter. And the whole myth, by and large, is treated as a tale that teaches how the seasons came about. But there's also that whole side of Hades and Persephone down in the underworld, and the thing that a lot of people nowadays are like, oh my gosh, that's so problematic and terrible and horrible, and Hades is evil because he abducted that girl. And that whole plot of Hades abducting Persephone down to the underworld, again, not meant to be taken literally, it is a whole metaphor for being forced to face your shadow, to face the things that are deep inside you, and giving face to those things, of speaking with those things, of giving them love. You'll see in a lot of different versions of the Hades and Persephone myth a lot more focus on the relationship that they start developing, that although Hades got hit with Cupid's arrow to begin with, they do develop a proper relationship. They develop a proper unity and a love and a balance. So I definitely recommend going and checking out the myth in full. If you're into reading comics, there's a wonderful web comic called Lore Olympus that really delves into the relationship that they have and focuses heavily on that concept of facing your shadow and of coming into your own. So there's also a lot of symbolism in it of a young girl becoming a woman, of someone moving from one stage of their life into the next. So there are many different ways that this myth can be interpreted, and you can focus on different angles. Ultimately, though, it's really about transformation of self and bringing your different pieces into balance. So that was my mini soapbox quick chat about myth, and particularly just addressing the fact that Hades is nothing like media perceives him as we might talk about him as. In fact, for those of you interested in how I feel different energies, Hades' energy is very cool in feeling, like that cold kind of cool, and very calm, very steady. He's very grounding and grounded. And has a sense of deep wisdom, but also wit to him as well. So if you've never actually connected with Hades, I definitely recommend it. He's not necessarily the most chatty I have found, because he tends to only speak when he's got something that he needs you to know, hence me having not actually connected with him until this point, because he dropped in on me and was like, hey Alyssa, yeah, I want you to relay a message to everyone from me. But definitely connect with him, and if you ask him questions, he will answer, so you can get him chatting that way. Alright, so I'm just tuning specifically into his energy now. And he is very grounding. It's wonderful. Really wonderful. So if you do need some support grounding, call in Hades. Even if you have a particular being who you like connecting with to ground, I always tend to go with Gaia. It's always a great experience to call in someone different and just feel what their energy is like and how they ground you in comparison to who you may usually use. Definitely has more of that masculine energy that I can feel just moving through me compared to when I connect with Gaia for grounding. Hello, he says. I am he who presides over the hidden in self and in your collective here upon this earthly plane. I am stepping forward now, as this one has said, with a message of action and reflection for all. These times have created a surge in fear, creating a disconnect that, although needed, just as a natural forest fire is needed in order to bring light to the undergrowth and to allow new growth to form. You must all, each of you, take responsibility for your energy and your light in this time. And to this, I say, first, do not ignore what is occurring because of a desire to avoid low vibrations. That simply continues the cycle of low vibrations, and it gives it space to continue. For you have decided that it is bad versus good. And when you make that line and you separate one thing from another, you cause the disconnect, the fracturing that is happening at a rapid rate, more than it has in the past in this moment. And so, I ask each of you, do not create that line. Do not demark yourself and other. Do not demark you and them, us and them, light and dark, good and bad. Do not do this. But so too, I say, do not saturate yourself in what is occurring either. For allowing yourself to get sucked in to the low vibrations, to allow yourself to get sucked in to the fires that are burning will only hurt you, and you no longer need to be hurt. And so, what I ask each of you to do is to acknowledge what is occurring, to see it, to see those who are within it, be they the ones who are in the fire, be they the ones who are creating the fires. Do not judge them. Simply see them, acknowledge them, and then take what you have heard and look in a mirror and look into yourself. In yourself, you may find a reflection of that which is outside at this time. You may find a reflection within yourself that is just like those who are creating the fires or those who are in the fires. You may find you identify with pieces, parts, peoples, words, perceptions of all that is going on at this time. And whatever it is, acknowledge it, speak it, see your position, see your perspective, and how it is colored by where you live, how you grew up, who your family is, what you look like, what your job is, what your dreams are. How do each of these things, each of these faces that you wear, how are they forming and informing you at this time? Acknowledge each face. Speak each face. Give each face a name. And when you come to a face that you shy away from, that you do not wish to give a name, chase that face even more. Focus on it. For that is what is also needed at this time. And that is why there is the fire burning. That is why the fire is burning at this time. Because those things that have been pushed back into shadow have been pushed down, pushed away, and not spoken of, now must be spoken. It is the lancing of a wound that is within each and every one of you, and together each of you creates the collective unconsciousness. And if each of you simply acknowledges all of your faces, you will be allowing for more light to cut through, to anchor, and to stay. Just as light can begin to cut through a forest that has had a fire tear through it, and so new things may grow. I ask each of you to speak to your loved ones. And when you speak to your loved ones, speak your truths. This is not a time to hide. This is a time to speak. This is a time to stand in your truth, to be all of your faces. You no longer need to hold to the judgments that you yourself have directed upon yourself, or the judgments you have directed upon others, or the judgments that others may direct upon you. This is the time to stand in your truth, to speak it, and to release whatever does not align. And if that means moving energetically away from family, from friends, and even taking time from your own society, do this so that you can release the judgments, the perceptions that are no longer serving you in this time, in this moment. That is for truth, for openness, for shining the light on that which has been long hidden. This is your duty as light workers, as beings of light upon this earthly plane. Shine the light, not just upon yourself, but upon others. Shine your light and allow the shadow to become part of your light, of the collective light, so that it is no longer shadow, so that there is no longer light and dark. There is simply light, as there always has been and always shall be. Thank you. Wow. All right, everyone. So that's all for today. And like I said at the beginning, I will hopefully be seeing you all again a little bit more regularly on Saturdays once more. But I will take things day by day. Definitely. We're going through a process. We're going through lots of things. So I'll see you around in my group, the Amethyst Cave. I will see you on my YouTube channel, Alyssa Reynolds, and just generally see and feel all of you around. Thank you for sharing this space with myself and spirit. And until next time, bye for now, and love and light.